We're going to talk about Ricky Gervais. It's one of a series of 6 episodes on YouTube. So register and you'll catch up on all the dirt on this interesting chap who's made his way to become, as he always says and reminds us, famous and rich.
He's so famous, he's rich, he's mega rich. I am.
We'll see how famous and how rich. The answers will surprise you. So, COVID, shut down. I'm a Greek living outside of Athens, and COVID shut down, nothing to do, sitting at the house, sky is blue, the sea is even bluer, nobody on the beaches, wife is sitting, doing something, reading a book, cooking, and the days go by. So I thought I'd catch up on my English a little bit, practice it, I've been away for years, and also to cheer up. So on to comedy, Brit comedy, straight into YouTube. And I watch, and I see this presenter, very well known, with a couple of A-list Hollywood stars. I think it was Travolta and Johnny Depp, sitting on a couch, and there's a spare seat next to the desk of the presenter. And in comes this electrician, or a grip, one of the crew, I presumed, wearing a faded black V-shirt. But then on comes this photograph behind him, and we see this huge sign in Trafalgar Square, and the commentator says that sign's almost as big as Nelson's column, the one with your name on it. What was happening? He said, well, it's a new show I have coming up, says Ricky Gervais, and I'm going to the States. So I thought, why would they invite this chap over there for? He can't even speak English properly. We had a problem understanding him. I can't imagine, people in the States, what they would make of him.
I'm not blasé about this reaction. It's fucking heartwarming. So thank you. But yeah, some people are on at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Anyway, so the conversation goes on, and suddenly I realize this is a star. We're living on the continent. We're cut off from certain cultural trends in Britain. Things like Dancing with the Stars or Love Island, important things that are taking over. These are the new celebrities. This is the new Brit comedy, and I wanted to see, what this was. What have I been missed? So the presenter says, you were offered £1 million, I heard, $1 million to do an advertisement, TV ad. And Ricky, cool, he said, no, it was 4 million actually. Wham, caught it. Obviously set up. It was a way to get the presenter to say, this man turned down $4 million. Then I started binging on YouTube because I didn't want to be ignorant. And here's Ricky standing in this dark auditorium. He's a stand-up comic. And I realized, of course he's stand-up because he's so short. No one can see him standing up on the stage and everyone was shouting for their money back. And this is a funny man. So I watch him. Ricky saunters over to the edge of the stage, looks down into the pit, and says, I can see a few of you cunts. Excuse me? It was a C word. We'd heard of fucking shit and all that stuff. It's boring. But the C word isn't that common. Or it wasn't. And then Ricky sort of saunters across the stage, looks at the back, and he says, it's full of cunts in here. And people are roaring with laughter. I realize I've missed something. There's a whole undercurrent of humor, which is big. It's not everywhere, but this is big. So Ricky is the big man. He's the C-word man. And then I watch another show of his, and he's saying, I had this show.
Talking of little bald fuckers, I did the teenage cancer gig last year. What? At the Royal Albert Hall. I'd done it before. I did it in 2006, but they called again last year. We're still ill. You lasted. No, it's a great gig, and the teenagers with cancer getting free and everything. That's the sort of guy I am. And they sit in the front row. Oh, lucky little. And they get to come backstage afterwards and meet me. What a treat that is for them. So much better than going to Disney World, where the rides can make you sick if you're in that state. So meeting me, it's thumbs up. And I was doing the gig this last time, and I looked down, I recognised one of them. I thought, oh yeah, he came backstage 2 years ago. He was telling me about his illness, and I signed some stuff for him, and he said, oh, he just turned 18 and how hard it was. And I was thinking, well, that was 2 years ago, so now he must be 20. So how the fuck is he still a teenager? Lying little shit. He wasn't lying about the cancer. He was riddled with it. It hurt him to laugh, but he shouldn't. So I was doing the gig, and he was laughing along, and I thought, yeah, you laugh it up, mate. I was fuming. And it got too much for me, and I went, all right, mate, I recognise you. I went, you came backstage 2 years ago. I went, yeah. You said you're 18. He went, yeah, so you're 20 now. He went, yeah. I said, get out. And I called security, and they struggled, but he was weak. They worked out, you could tell. Although they had trouble getting hold of him to start with, but then they got him, and they pulled it. His drip nearly had someone's eye out. I went, get him out. The crowd started booing. I went, hear that? They don't want to see someone like you take the piss out of me. Off you go. Oh. Cheers, everyone.
And as he walked out, Ricky's pissing himself with laughter. So he was a man I saw who was funny to the crowd. They liked him. This was his humour. And then I watched a couple more episodes to see who Ricky Gervais was, who this brilliant comic was.
2, kids are scroungers, aren't they? I mean, from day one, it's all me, isn't it? Feed me, clothe me, pay for my chemotherapy. No. Not my problem, son. Not mine.
So he was a man I saw who was funny to the crowd. They liked him. This was his humour. And then he talks about some dead baby. Ha, big joke. Someone's baby died. And this is a joke. And then in another interview, you know, there's questions about the parents complaining who've lost children and the people, these tragedies. For him, it's a big laugh. And said, you know, humour, I'm for free speech.
I'm at that age where I can say what I want, like your nan used to, you know?
I'm not going to have anyone tell me what I can't say. He meant what he couldn't say. So this is a free speech advocate, and people follow him. And I wanted to see this. Didn't surprise me, because then I looked at British humour historically. Go back 200 years, 300 years, and there were always the Ricky Gervaises were. And for those of you familiar with London, at the top of Hyde Park, this Marble Arch. Marble Arch is a new name. 250, 300 years ago, it was called Tyburn. And that's where the gallows were. That's where the Brits loved. The English loved to hang people, and that's where they did it. This was big entertainment. And when it was a hangman's time, they would take them from whichever prison it was, I forget the name now, and take them to Tyburn in carts, and people pelting them with tomatoes, if there were tomatoes. No, but anyway, potatoes and whatever. What they were pelting the guys in the carriage, and the guys about to be hanged were, you know, shouting and swearing in the crowd. Great entertainment. Then up onto the gallows, up onto the platform, and out would come the hangman, and this would be the Ricky Gervais of the time. Crowds are going crazy. Yes, jump, push him. So the hangman loves this, and he gives a shove and kicks someone off. Guys there struggling away, trying to struggle for breath. Another one has his head snapped off because the rope is too long or too short. Anyway, this is great entertainment. And of course, for the prissy virgins who were in the crowd, who would get a little frisson to see an erection as a man was being strangled, his blood supply was cut off, heart pumping away, and, you know, into his erection would go. Stand up, and that was stand-up comedy. So the Ricky Gervais have always been around, and they've always been popular. So this is something that I saw in Kenya. I was in Kenya, I grew up there, during the emergency, the Mau Mau, and the British didn't like the Africans wanting independence, wanting to... So what they would do, they would hang 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 of them every couple of weeks, you know, because they'd spoken against the Queen. You don't do that, not in those days. And you didn't talk up against the empire. That was sedition. So off they were. The Africans would be hanged, and the hangman in Nairobi was a chap called Hoppy, a European, an Englishman, he had a leg problem, and they called him Hoppy because he limped. And Hoppy had a bar, and of course the bar was the most popular place in town, apart from the long bar where the white hunters would go to brag about all the animals they'd killed that week, and how many clients they'd laid, rich clients coming over there for their thrills. But Hoppy was the entertainer. So Hoppy was our Ricky Gervais in Nairobi. And he would say Hoppy was, it was the racist thing of the time. It was a British attitude. He'd said, I'll hang a white man for £20. an Indian for £5 and an African for nothing. And when he's always talking about famous, let's look at his background. And we'll do that in episode 2. Subscribe, we'll look at his background, we'll look at his sexuality, and we'll learn a lot about little Ricky Gervais, the man who talked about his balls floating in the water. Ricky, do your balls hang low? Do you swing them to and fro? Do you get a funny feeling when you slap them on the ceiling? Subscribe. Let's go to episode 2 of the Ricky Gervais series from ALEC SIANNA